Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Bright Ideas with Jess Dumig. I'm obviously Jess Dumig, and today I'm so excited to have Carye Farrell with Quest Workspaces with me today. Hi, Carye.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? It's Friday.
Fantastic. Yes, it is Friday. We're recording on a Friday. This is always fun to do on Fridays because we're a little more lighthearted, so it's exciting. We are actually in the same building right now, two separate offices on the same floor, and Carye will tell us more about that in a little bit. But let's just jump right in. Carye, who is Carye?
Who is Carye? Well, I am originally from Orlando. I live in Wellington, Florida. And I am a mother, I am a magician, I am an entrepreneur, I'm a professional, and all around, I would say just, for lack of a better way of describing me, a jack of all trades. So
yeah, you wear a lot of hats.
I do wear a lot of hats, but I think most entrepreneurs do wear a lot of hats. And I think that for the most part, like I said, as a business professional and a mother, you're kind of like stepping into all different roles. So, but just to kind of give you like a little background on what I do for a living.
Sure.
And how I got here, I actually am the general manager for Quest Workspaces in the downtown West Palm Beach area, which is where we are. And I manage the floor, if you will, the executive space where I have probably about 51 private offices here, but over 200 clients where I assist and help them with not only myself, but also my staff with all of their business needs and anything that, and that's the reason why I describe myself as a magician, anything that I can do to assist them and help them with their business. That's what we do here. So it's more of like your co-working trend. If you've heard, the whole pandemic has kind of brought that to light where a lot of people work virtually now. And so that kind of brought us into, I guess, the forefront of what we do. And so that's where I am.
Yeah, it's and I'll tell you, I love working out here. I toured a few quote unquote traditional co-working spaces, traditional as much as you can be in this world when they've been around for like a week.
Right.
But I love this place. It's very professional. It's very it gives off the image that I want for my business. My business is not a kind of roll up your sleeves kind of thing. Mine is an executive business, and I love that for this. But it's really interesting because in this building we have everything from lawyers to therapists to consultants to, I mean, there's so many different types of people here. You have to pull from a lot of different experiences of your own. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I have actually, I mean, I've graduated from the University of Central Florida. Go Knights. I know.
If I hadn't known that, I wouldn't be working here. So I guess that's a good thing I didn't.
So I graduated from there. And my first job out of college, which seems like ages and ages ago, my first job out of there was a manager in training for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So there I actually learned the art of not only management, but customer service, because you really have to learn how to provide good customer service in that industry. So from there, as I was being promoted and kind of getting to the point of where, stepping up to being a manager of an actual location, I was recruited from an actual national client, USA Today, which going back to when I went to college, I won't tell you my age, but going back to when I went to college, USA Today was, just a huge name. It was, the first
newspaper for those at home.
Absolutely. First colored newspaper, the color basic news was all black and white. And then USA Today came out and it was like, wow, it's a colored newspaper. So I basically was recruited by them to be in the Orlando area, the North Central Florida market, their marketing manager, basically. So from customer service management to marketing now, that actually allowed me to kind of grow into that field and really kind of determine what I liked as far as like what was my passion and where did I really see myself moving forward.
Let's take that back a little bit, because you went to college for not management and marketing. You went to school for journalism.
Yes.
Talk us through that. Why did you, what made you make that jump to enterprise?
I will tell you, so when I went to college, my major was journalism, and I loved to write. It was, in high school, I was the editor of my newspaper in high school. So with that, basically kind of jumping into college, I thought this is what I want to do. This is my life's passion. And, when you're that young, you really have all these kind of stars and aspirations of what you want to do with your life, but you're still somewhat confused on the direction that you want to head. And so I really took on journalism, thought that was what was going to be my role, and ultimately ended up kind of bouncing all over the place, not really knowing exactly what I wanted to do with it. And then became kind of, I don't know if the fear of failure set in, thought that maybe I wouldn't be good enough to do it. Hindsight, looking back, if I would have just simply gotten over that fear of failure and the whole perfectionism that everything has to be perfect, that, back in those younger ages, I would have maybe still pursued it. But I do actually it is a passion of mine still. And it is something that I would like to do as far as, I guess maybe writing a book one day, who knows?
Ooh, I like that. Fear of failure is something that's really interesting to me, because so many times, right, the fear of failure stops you from doing the thing that you are afraid you're going to fail at, but in so doing, you fail anyway.
Yes.
Right? By not doing it, you're not even giving yourself the opportunity to succeed. And so I always like kind of take that, like stop and take that in, but at the same time, it never goes away. No. Fear of failure. And I think that's for a good reason. I think we are inclined to know, and you can say fear of failure, and failure being death, destruction, getting fired, not accomplishing your goals in the time you set for yourself that was arbitrary anyway. I mean, there's so many things that, I always say, like, make like a Nike commercial, just do it, right? Because there's so many things that could go wrong, but there's so many things that could go right too.
Yes.
But I think that it's a self-preservation tool. I think it goes back to instinctual fight or flight. Like, how hard am I really going to fight for this thing? And maybe it's an indicator of, did I really want it? Maybe. Right. Yeah. Or maybe it really is like, let me just not prove to myself that I'm going to fail. And it's like, or
right,
prove to yourself that you're not going to fail, right? But I don't think it ever goes away.
I think when you're young, though, I think that you don't really understand, like, why am I afraid, or what, you're not thinking, like, I guess kind of sitting where I am now, older, and looking back, where I was sitting then, I couldn't see what my fear was. Like, I didn't understand, like, what am I afraid of? Right. So I just kind of didn't do things. Now, looking back, it's like, oh, I was fearful of failure. So now I can kind of put a label on it. Like, now I know this is what it was. I was, so it's kind of like that hindsight being 2020, you kind of go look back and you're like, okay, well, that was why I was scared. Cause I was just, and that kind of led into a lot of things. I mean, that I like to say I'm a jack of all trades, as I stated, but it's also me just kind of hodgepodging and kind of finding where my niche was, and really just kind of going with it. If I was successful at it, I kind of like kept on. If I wasn't successful at it, well, I found something else. So, it just, I don't know, I call it fear of failure, call it, I don't know, fear of just not accomplishing my goals that I had set out to do. And yeah.
I think I kind of call it being human a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, in the moment, it doesn't really matter the why necessarily, why not, right? Like, it's why I'm not going to do it. It's at this point in time, it doesn't feel right. It's not the right moment. It's not the right financial situation. It's not the right headspace. It's not the right anything. And you touched on something that's really interesting there about now you can go back and label it. We like to label everything, don't we? We love labels.
Yes.
So in this world of labeling, and in this world where failure is so transparent because there's a camera everywhere, there's someone somewhere on the internet every minute telling everyone else how bad they are, how much they suck, how they're doing everything wrong. There's the same amount of people telling everybody they're doing it right, but we don't see that. We default to what we're doing wrong, and we'll talk about that for sure at some point in this hour, I'm sure. But I think that there's something, and you and I talked about this briefly, about how if someone thinks, I don't think I'm going to do it because X, Y, and Z, because I think I might fail. You have two options, right? As a now mentor, looking back, being so wise that we know everything, and we could say, we can either validate that fear and that doubt that someone has in themselves, or we could say, you know what? But what if you fly? But what if you win? But what if you do succeed? And I think I talked in the episode with Autumn Sullivan, we talked about plan B, right? And everyone's encouraged to have a plan B just in case you fail at the one you're probably gonna fail at. Come on, let's give these kids a chance, right? I find that we need to, I feel like there's a systemic problem, and I'm not talking about anything that's buzzwords in the news right now. I think there's a systemic problem with the way that we bring up the next generation in saying, you're not good enough. And by we, I mean the world, everyone. You can't do it until someone else does, right? For better or for worse. I know that'll be controversial. You know what? Comment in the thing. Let's discuss it, because I think you'll see the light. Not you, obviously, the people watching. I think the bottom line is, stop telling people no. Stop telling people what they can't do, and start telling people what they can do, or what they could even do better, right? There's nothing wrong. And I'd love you to tell the greeting card story, because you told me this one, and this is really the catalyst for all of this. I want to hear that, but I think it's just so important to just say, no, but ... because you can't always get a yes, and we're in a world where everyone thinks yes all the time, but also go for it.
Right.
You don't always need a devil's advocate. You need to be smart. You need to make sound choices, but at the same time, you know what? Throw it all to the wind. Go do what you want to do.
Right.
You're gonna figure it out. There's plenty of jobs out there.
Yeah, I think and I think also becoming a mom, I'll tell you the greeting card story, but becoming a mom, that's when I really, I guess, introspectively, I kind of looked inside and I thought, how do I want my kids? And I have daughters. So how do I want them to grow up? And do I want them to actually be fearful of failure? Do I want them to not actually try to do something? So there was one phrase and I would write it on the chalkboard at home. I would put it on their bathroom wall. And it was like, don't tell me you can't, because I know you can. And the girls, they can recite it to you because that is something that I would preach out loud, do not tell me you can't, because I know you can. And honestly, I think that what I did, maybe from my past, where I kind of realize now the fear of failure that I had, which stopped me in a lot of things that I did, I didn't want to pass that on. So I wanted to make sure that I put my best foot forward and knew and learned from my past, enabling, my children for their future. And anyone really, because honestly, in what I do now, with being a general manager and really kind of mentoring also, not only my staff, but then also other managers and, within our workspace centers. I think that what that allows me to do is really kind of also lead by example, lead by, not only just, I know that you actually had someone that, had said bringing someone up behind you. And that is something that I live by, because I had a lot of mentors throughout the years of every different job that I did that really propelled me forward. And I wanted to kind of give back, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I was in grad school, we had this management principles class, and it was, take it for what it is, whatever, or everyone focus on their own thing anyway. But they kept telling us money is not the only motivator. Money's not the only motivator. And you're like, yeah, okay, cool story, bro. Like, right. And so what I've come to realize is that in the very first part of your career, money is everything, right? Because you're struggling, you're starting out in some cases for the first time, figuring out your finances, figuring out how to get to the next level, whatever. But eventually that scale tips, right? And for me, what I realize is mentorship is actually more important than the money. It's easy to say once you're, secure and start, you're there, whatever, or whatever there is for you. But mentorship for me is so much more valuable because 1,000,001 ways to make money, right? There are not 1,000,001 ways to feel fulfilled in this life. Actually, there probably are, but not for any individual person. And for me, when I look at what legacy means, right? And this has come up a little bit in some of these conversations. And I know you're a mom. A lot of the women I've had on so far are moms. I'm not, so for me, legacy is different, and maybe not so different, but, that's number one on my list to being, how do I leave something behind when I don't have any flesh and blood, that I'm leaving behind? And it's kind of one of those things where I say, mentorship is that. Mentorship is how you do that when you want to. And that's not to say that everybody is a good mentor, because there are plenty of terrible people in this world. There's plenty of great people, but there are plenty of bad ones. And there are plenty of people who are not that great at what they do,
right?
But when you do have that gift, when you do have all these experiences to draw from in life, in love, in personal, in professional, in whatever, that's valuable. And I've come to realize that an opportunity that allows me to mentor the next generation is so important. And I think, with your backstory, with everything that you've done, starting with enterprise and going through a lot of the other stuff, it makes total sense to me where you are now in Quest. And I hope you revisit that whole writing a book thing. I pitch that to everybody. Just start it and you'll figure out if you're ready when you're ready, but just start getting those words on paper. But let's talk real quick. Let's talk about transferable skills, right? Because you own your own business. You've owned your own businesses. You've sold your businesses. You've had success. You've had failures. And here you are now in something completely different, even from the management at Enterprise to USA Today to everything in between. Certainly different than being mom, although I kind of feel like you're like den mother here. Talk to us about some of this transferable skills.
Yeah, and basically, I think I've come full circle, really. If I'm being honest, I feel that really I always look at that every role or every job or every opportunity that you've had in life has kind of led you to the next. And you learn from not only your past mistakes, but you learn from people. People come into your life for a reason. They're there to hopefully teach you something, whether good, whether bad. And then from there, you just kind of, follow your own path. There's paths paved in front of you, and you choose. But yeah, so I think that definitely I've come full circle where I've held multiple jobs, and not necessarily multiple as in hop from job to job. I'm not millennial. Just kidding.
Careful.
Totally kidding.
Careful.
Actually, I absolutely appreciate that. I can't even tell you how much I appreciate it, because I truly feel that they're serving themselves, because I think that my generation really served others. Meaning, I mean, I don't want to trivialize any of that, but meaning that almost to a fault, to where it's, we didn't really, there was no self-care, there was no taking care of yourself, it was basically you kind of lived and breathed your career, your job, your,
Right.
Basically that was your identity.
Right.
And I think with millennials, they're trying to kind of come at it from a different perspective of, I need to take care of me, and that's how I'm going to best serve others, is by taking care of myself and then taking care of others.
Right.
Which is really kind of how I, like I said, come full circle. Whereas, I never really truly took care of myself, and now I take care of others, but also take care of myself. So with Quest Workspaces, it's allowed me to kind of, I guess, use my background, my marketing skills, my owning my own business, my customer service, my management. It's allowed me to take all of those different fields and all those experiences and kind of put them into property management.
Right.
And then in the industry that I'm in, which is kind of the co-working executive suite for those that are older. And basically I actually kind of manage the back of the house, if you will, for the clients that are here, and give them the opportunity to grow their business. And then all of my skills are, I guess, transferable by the knowledge that I have. I'm able to kind of, people will kind of belly up to the bar. I know I've said that to you before, where they come up to the front desk and we kind of
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I never do that, ever.
And they come up and, they ask a marketing question. They come up and they ask an HR question. Like, I don't even, never really been in HR, but I can, I certainly can ask, like, well, what troubles are you having? And then kind of lead them in, that direction. So I feel like I, help and assist others to grow their business and offer them the ability to kind of just do it on their own. It's kind of like what we had talked about, the whole, like, they come in, they start small, they grow big, and then ultimately, mama bird's got to kick them out of the nest, and they kind of move forward. So, but that's, it's rewarding.
It's cool too, because I kind of consider you a really big time connector, right? So when people do come to you with these questions, there's so many different types of businesses in here that, like, even if you don't know it, or you go to the end of your experience, you say, but so-and-so is this, and let me connect you. I love that. I want to go back to one thing that you said, because I want everyone, I started this podcast, this blog, kind of in the face of some of these professional development books and people who write them at the end of their careers or later in their careers and talk about all the coming ups and whatever. But there is one book that really, I think everyone should read. Actually, there's two books I think everyone should read. And something you just touched on really is hit hard in both of these books. This generational differences, right? And not understanding each other and why we don't understand each other. And I think that everyone should read Leaders Eat Last and Start with Why, both by the same guy, both by Simon Sinek. He's young. I think he's on the higher end cusp of a millennial. He might be a little older. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But this guy talks about the differences in the generations from the baby boomers to Gen X to Gen Y, now to millennials, now to Gen Z, whatever that's going to be. He talks about how they're different, but not in like, oh, millennials suck, or oh, boomers are annoying, they don't do anything. It's a very interesting take on that. And I just wanted to quickly interject that there. But I also want to talk about how you kind of matriculated through these different parts of your career, because like you said, hindsight is 2020, right? And we're sitting here and we're looking back at our career so far, and it makes sense, right? In the moment, as you were making individual decisions, it didn't make sense. You didn't have all the pieces to the puzzle, right? And ironically, there's no corner pieces to this puzzle, so to speak, right? You just keep building it and building it out. So every time you look back toward the middle, you're like, oh, cool picture, right? But you never really finish. So at any point you can look back and say, okay, it makes a lot of sense. But every one of those things that you took from each part of your job has now come, like you said, full circle. There's another book, and I'm shamelessly plugging these books. They're not mine, obviously, but there's a book called The Seed by John Gordon. And I think I've recommended this one to you. For anyone listening, it's about, so John Gordon writes these like fable-esque books, but for adults, short, fast reads. This one's about a seed, and it gets planted and it grows, and you got to repot it because it outgrew its thing. And it talks about, kind of parallels that to our life in jobs and whatever, really anything. and how people come in for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, whatever. I heard that quote. I love that quote.
Yeah.
But the point is that one little seedling that starts in a pot, right, will grow, will take every possible thing it can out of that pot. And then when it's like, okay, I'm kind of ready to go out, but I still have a little more room, then it does it again. It takes every last ounce of nutrient out of that one little pot, and then it transplants. So as we talk about, you starting with journalism, you took everything you could out of that, but then you decided not for you into the next, took everything out of enterprise, took that with you into USA Today. So you're exponentially growing and using your experience with more and more context. It's just so interesting. And now here you are. I called you Mama Bear by mistake, but as Mama Bird,
Right.
not afraid to kick the little birdies out of the quest nest. Oh, we need to call it that.
I like that. Quest, hashtag quest nest.
Yes.
I like it.
But let me ask you this. So you've been here now a lot of years.
Yes.
9
years. Yeah.
9 years. Okay.
9 years.
What is it that's kept you here?
That's a very interesting question. So I like to say it's because I have fun. I mean, because I wouldn't do a job. Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I've been here longer than I've been in any job. So my jobs have basically, I mean, I haven't hopped, but it's been like, 5 years or plus, but 9 years is actually the longest that I've been somewhere. And I just, I take every day as a way of learning something new. And people that come in, because I do actually meet a lot of interesting, like yourself, new people all the time, and able to kind of network and, connect people with each other. And then as I'm connecting people, I see like, those moments of like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I needed. And thank you so much. And I know you and I talked about like the aha moment. Kind of what for me, it's, when I help others or, am able to kind of give them that aha moment, because when you hear someone speak and you're like, aha, that's exactly, yeah. I don't know, it lights me up inside. So it makes me feel good. And I think that's probably the main reason why. And obviously I have a very supportive team. I have supportive coworkers. They're a lot of fun. My COO, my CEO are wonderful. So, I mean, that doesn't hurt either. But for the most part, I manage and run this place really very, kind of even. It's not a tiered hierarchy. It's more of like, I'm it. I'm here. I'm it. You come to me, and I like that. I like being in control. I like it. It serves me well. So that's why I'm still here. And I love meeting, people like you.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because you've created a culture here. And it's weird to talk about culture when it's not one cohesive company, but it might as well be.
Right.
There's 53 offices here. They're all full, I think, for the most part. I mean, it's like little departments because granted, we're not all working toward the same goal, but we're all working toward our own goals. And it's so cool to see the energy on different days. Like some days it is heads down, work. Other days it's kind of like, woo, fireball shots. Right. It's great.
Fireball practice.
Yeah, it's awesome. We're headed there after this, I hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's got to be so cool, right? Because, I highly doubt, and maybe your career day was different. I highly doubt your position was at your career day in high school.
No.
There's no, like, I don't even know, honestly, don't even know if career day is a thing anymore.
Right.
I don't know. But bottom line is it used to be for all those lovely people watching who are like, the what? But
which honestly, do you feel, just quickly, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no, go ahead.
Do you feel that maybe career day is like past its prime? Like maybe that's not really, like you shouldn't kind of put people in a box almost?
Well, that's exactly where I was saying this. And I do agree with that because if you think about it, right, we all have this list, whether you've written it down or you didn't, you have a list in your head. You want to make this much money. You want this title. You want this set of skills, because again, we all are different. This is not like saying a list is bad, but think about trying to make your list now and not knowing that what you do is a thing. you will be left unfulfilled, because on some level it will not come together. But here you are, you love the aha moments, you love helping people, you love seeing other people's successes, you love control, you XYZ, whatever else is on that list. And here you are doing all of it in one thing. I think we need to restart Career Day. And Career Day needs to be like, why don't you curate your own thing? Too many times we tell people, and this goes back to what we're talking about not empowering people, but rather saying all the reasons it's not going to work, or playing devil's advocate became a thing, which is super annoying. I used to do it as a default. I think we all should be able to play devil's advocate, but not be the default. Some people don't want to hear, well, let me tell you the 5 reasons that it's going to suck. And you're like,
and it's not going to work.
You think I didn't already run through all those scenarios in my head? Like, really? But I think we need to go back and say, look, what is it that you want? And let's find a job that works for you. Or not everything has to be immediate. You don't need instant gratification. You have to go do X, Y, and Z jobs for the next 5 years, total, not each. Get these skills, and then you can do it. It's not saying you have to go to college and go to med school and then this. Okay, if you're going to be a doctor, yes. But otherwise, you don't have to go high school, college, grad school, and then get the one job that's supposed to encompass that. It doesn't exist. It's not the world we live in. But you do have to figure out, what is that? Let's call that the high school of old. What do I want? The college of old, which is like a week ago, whatever, is the jobs you have to do to get it. So spend those 4 years getting the skills elsewhere. And I'm not anti-college, but it's not for everybody. Maybe grad school is you trying to figure it out and hopping from job to job a little bit. And then guess what? You finally matriculate, you finally get to that job, you have your aha moment, whether it's working for yourself, whether it's working for somebody else, but it's in a completely different role than you ever expected, or that if you wrote down your things would have popped up, and you bringing this experience to a whole different world. The bottom line is the world's changing minute by minute with this digital thing.
It is.
And so it's crazy to see it in real time, knowing from where we came from, right? And I say that at 37. Meanwhile, like, my grandma's like, really, Jess? Like, where we came from? Like, she's 94. Where we came from was freaking Pearl Harbor to her. Like, come on, it's crazy.
Right.
So you always have the innate power to figure out how to motivate other people. You do that. You, Carrie, do that. I don't know you realize that you do it, but you do. Where do you pull that motivation from? Because you always have an answer. I know you think you don't, but you always have like let's do this. How about you do this? And it's so much out of the box thinking. Like, how do you do that? What drives that?
I think I've always been a very positive person. I think that, I've had a lot to overcome in my life. I was never poor. And I've never really had like true tragedy in my life. I never really had, but there was definitely some obstacles, whether it was internal or whether it was, something that basically I kind of made bigger than it actually should have been, if you will. But I think that for the most part, in the end, I've always thought that if I don't make myself happy, who is going to make me happy? And so I find that like to be very motivating to like just put one foot in front of the other and just keep moving forward. And then also to kind of stand behind somebody else and kind of push them forward, and letting them know that like this too shall pass, and that you can get, you've survived yesterday, so you'll survive today, and you'll survive tomorrow. So it's just basically just allowing people to, I don't know, I think that as I motivate myself, I feel like anything I tell myself, I would tell you. Yeah.
And I think that's important. I've recently kind of figured that part out a little bit. And I think it's something you have to really experience it to have experienced it. And I know that sounds like, oh, okay, but It's one of those things you're never going to be able to manufacture that, right? Not in any sort of genuine way. And I think that the genuine part of our world is what's missing maybe today. I think there's a lot of people who are really good actors for a short TV show, but couldn't make it the whole movie or the whole series, you know, like people are good. And then you're like, well, what happened to the guy I was talking to you yesterday? You know, or the gal I was talking to yesterday, whatever. But I saw a quote the other day said, I can't remember who said it, and I'll find it and I'll put it in the write-up. But it was, you can't knock a woman off a pedestal she put herself on. And it wasn't meant to be like, oh my God, let's put ourselves on pedestals. It was like, if you build yourself up, no one can take that away from you.
Oh, I like it.
You don't need
now
the external.
Kind of described it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I probably butchered the quote. I'll try to find it and put it out there for real. But you really, you have to build yourself up, because you just said it. If you don't, who will?
Who will?
Right.
Yep.
Who will, in a genuine, I'll be there forever way?
Yes.
Not many people.
It's funny because I just kind of had this conversation with my daughter. She's 16. And so I basically, you know, she's got her first boyfriend. So, so I, you know, basically said to her was, you know, make sure that, you know, because she was like, oh, he makes me so happy. And when I hear that, it like makes my like, oh, you know, that kind of like stopping moment where I'm like, no, you make yourself happy. Like, he doesn't make you happy. You make yourself happy. And if he just happens to come along for the ride, great.
Right.
But so I don't know. I think that, you know, again, just making sure that you build yourself up, like you said, you know, put yourself on your own pedestal. I like that.
Yeah. I think it's really important to it's so ironic when I finally get the words, you'll realize why it's ironic. I find that we don't have the language to describe our feelings sometimes, right? And there's the irony, is I couldn't put it into words, but I think that there's, he makes me so happy can mean so many things, because at 16, not that your daughter didn't have a vocabulary, but like, the head does not connect to the mouth necessarily, and certainly doesn't connect from the heart. My friend put it in a term. She's like, you have your head, your heart, and your gut. And if those three are not thinking the same thing or giving the same signals, that's when you have conflict. It's not just head and heart, because your head can say one thing, your heart can say another, and your gut's like, oh, no, you're both wrong. And you're like, no, shut up. I want to be cool. I want to be this. And you're like, no, shut up. It's so hard at any age, because everything's evolving, right? It's crazy well, first of all, I couldn't imagine having a 16-year-old daughter or any daughter, but still, I think it's just so interesting how, like, the messages that these young kids are getting, having the boyfriend, having the girlfriend, whatever, like figuring out what's important, I think really starts now, I guess. Yeah,
it really does. I mean, I think, and going back to really kind of like the digital, you know, fear basically is that you're being fed all these things coming in digitally from the outside world. Whereas going back to my day and age, it's like, I didn't have all that, you know, I mean, just, you know, wasn't hitting you all at once. And I think we've actually had this conversation before, where it's like, you know, now with everything just kind of being right there at your fingertips, and your, you know, the comparison and the, you know, living up, the whole quote or the whole adage of like, keeping up with the Joneses. Well, that's taken on a whole new meaning with social media and with, you know, kids nowadays, is like keeping up with, you know, just about everybody across the world. And it's, I don't know, I just, it scares me, because I wonder what damage is being done. And, you know, it can be used in so many positive ways, but it can also be used in so many negative ways.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it transcends even the kids. Obviously, the kids are impressionable, but my grandmother is on her tablet all the time. And it's very interesting to see the things she engages with on Facebook. And then when I sit there and I'm like, she is totally getting fed the same bullshit that these kids are.
Right.
And she's either playing right into it, actually, regardless, she's playing right into it because she's either agreeing or disagreeing. Then all her friends are seeing it, all her connections, and everyone's connected with grandma, of course, you know, and it's happening at every level, you know. And so in a world where, I sound like the movie guy, in a world, but like in a world where everything has gone to hyperspeed, right? We've had more technological advance in the last, God, I don't know the stat, like 25 years than the previous 200 years. It's nuts, it's exponential. And I think we automatically expect people to like just get it. Like just get it, figure out how to deal with it, because like it's just how it is. We're still talking about kids, adolescents, young adults, transitional adults, older adults, geriatric. It's a very weird world because they're all at a different level of comprehension. They're all at a different level of adoption. And everything we put out there is received differently.
Yep.
You know, Walter Cronkite gets on the news and reads a story in 19 something and 50 something, 60, 80, I don't know. And people hear it, they all hear the exact same message with the exact same tone, with there's no retweeting, there's no opinions, there's no this. You got to form your own. Wait a minute, what's an opinion anymore?
Right, absolutely.
Are you even allowed to have those without being persecuted for it one way or the other? Because I've seen how the sausage is made. If you say you're Republican, guess what you're going to get? Democratic ads and messages to try to change your mind, because you're getting targeted by advertisers, people who are paying to see your eyes for you to see them.
Yeah.
Works exactly the opposite way too. So I couldn't imagine growing up or growing old in this time.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's not an easy world that we live in. And it's just, and then just to see like all of the, I don't know, I feel like I see more negativity than I did when I was growing up. Like, you know, the things that were really kind of happening in other countries. I mean, granted, I was, you know, I guess maybe you could call us naive back then, but it's like, you know, you heard about it, but yet you didn't see it all the time in your face 24
hours. Yeah.
And that can really lead to the depression. I mean, I feel like the depression, the anxiety, the whole mental health issues that we have, I really feel like a lot of that stems from that. I mean, it stems from all this, you know, 24/7 hitting you in the face with all this negativity. And it's very scary. It's very scary.
So let me ask you this, right? You've seen a few decades of life, right? You've had these different perspectives from personal, professional, career, entrepreneur, career again, mentor, manager. You've seen it. What advice do you have for people in general? For what advice do you have based on what you've seen and heard and what you project? Like, how do we combat this? I don't want to say how do we fix it, that's a little pie in the sky, but what steps can we even take, in your opinion?
I really think like put down the phone, because perfectly honest, like I tell that to my kids all the time, put down the phone, like just put it down. I'm not, you know, there's definitely a use for this, but I think that, like you said, like what's an opinion nowadays? It's like thinking for yourself. You know, I just think that the more that we kind of step back and really look and see what we value, and as you know, the youth of today, like moving forward, just realizing that there is a whole big world out there, and that there is an opportunity for everyone, and that, as kind of going back to the very beginning, the fear of failure, is that you don't really don't let that be an obstacle. Don't let it be an obstacle. I mean, everyone has fears, and you know, if the wise old me could talk to the young, you know, wonderful me. That's what I would say, is I would say, like, just go for it.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Nike ad, just go for it. Like,
Right.
it doesn't hurt. And, honestly, like, I'm in sales because, not only do I manage the place, but I also lease the place. So as I said, that I talked to a whole bunch of business owners that walk through the door. I'm also selling them on this big concept that we have here
Right.
of, bringing your whole life or your business into this crazy mix of people here. And I'm selling them an opportunity. I'm selling them a way of doing business. I'm selling them a lifestyle.
Right.
And, for me, it's kind of like, I think that you've got to actually just go for it.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
Yeah, I've found in a lot of the conversations that I've had, we're now a few episodes into Bright Ideas, there seems to be this turning point where everyone says, I've had it. I am done with this, what I'm told to do, and I needed to figure it out for myself. And everyone has that flip the switch aha moment where you're like, this is it.
Right.
Or I finally figured it out. So I think what you said about put down the phone and have a thought for yourself, right? Because the people who created this phone want you to think that every single opinion that exists in the world is A, on it, but B, you're seeing every single opinion that exists in the world. And the bottom line is everyone is not doing it.
Right. Right.
Everyone is not a thing. There are 7.3 billion people in this world. Everyone is doing nothing except breathing. And maybe not even that, so, I mean, the bottom line is we are so wrapped up in this. Oh my God, everyone's doing it. No, they're not. Everyone thinks this. No, they don't. Put down the phone, sit and just pick a topic of the day and just sit and think about nothing except that. Right. And form your own opinions. Think for yourself without anyone else's opinion mixed in and get there. You know, Coke or Pepsi? Well, Coke is this, but Pepsi is this. But I mean, come on, it's a bad example. It's a great example that should not be a real topic of contemplation. But I mean, it's okay to have thoughts for yourself.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, it's funny because, and I just had this, I guess, maybe aha moment for myself where, of course, as a mother of a 16-year-old, there's times where I have to kind of set boundaries and I have to get on her about different things, whether it's school, whether it's, go to bed, whether it's get your homework done, that kind of thing. And she's done a couple of things where I've had to actually take her phone. And I took her phone the last time that she was in trouble. Granted, she deserved it, as every 16-year-old that does something wrong does. I took her phone for 2 weeks. And let me tell you, okay, in the beginning, it was a nightmare because she was like, just overwrought with like her life was ending. And then after the first maybe 3-4 days, she was so productive. Not only productive, but happy. She wasn't comparing herself to whoever was on the screen. She was, she had stepped away from her friend group that, I mean, as a 16-year-old girl, the drama that, you were a 16-year-old girl. I was a 16-year-old girl. You couldn't pay me to be a 16-year-old girl right now.
No.
So just taking her phone away from her for 2 weeks, which, you know what? I dare anyone to do that. Put your phone down, Jess, for 2 weeks.
I don't know that I could do it for 2 hours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to basically enforce that, I can't, she honestly told her older sister that she actually was happy that I did it.
Wow. Why isn't that a TikTok challenge?
Right?
Like, I mean, idiots are stacking milk crates and eating Tide Pods. Why the hell can't we say TikTok challenge? Don't use TikTok for a week.
Right.
Wouldn't
I don't
that
know
be
if
fun?
TikTok would like that, but
no, but whatever. the point stands. I'll tell you, I tried to give up Facebook for Lent one year.
Mm-hmm.
Very challenging when half your business relies on that, for one. Minor detail, but it was Same, I guess. It was
Mhm.
very difficult. But again, I like to at least think in more of a functional capacity because I still had to use it for business. So it was really hard not to get in the middle. But you know what? It was really nice to, like, I can't tell you how many times I've left my phone at home when I like drive down to the Sawgrass Mall or something, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Oh,
Right.
same thing I was gonna do anyway without thinking my pocket's vibrating every 5 minutes. Like,
Right.
it's literally an addiction because what happens is you get this muscle memory for one. Oh my
Mhm.
God, did anyone call me? Did anyone call me? No. When was the last time someone actually called you on your phone? They didn't call you the one time you didn't have it, trust me.
Yeah.
And then separately, you like, it's not the end of the world. It's so hard to believe that and to think through it. And it's like, no, duh. Like, right. But I think we should do that. Maybe we'll have a bright strategy challenge. No, nothing except phone number and like phone calls and texting on your phone and email and
And maybe
Uber.
Instagram.
Yeah. No okay, maybe that's easier to say what you can't do. No Instagram, no Facebook, no TikTok, no Snap.
Yeah.
But
Snapchat. I mean, I don't.
is
I
that a
don't
thing
even
still?
know.
I don't even know. None
Yeah.
of that for like a week. You know how they have those like diet challenges? Let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's do that challenge.
I'm all for it.
All right, we're gonna put out an all call for people to do that and see,
Yep.
and literally like write a blog about what the experience was.
There would be more books created during that time, I bet you.
Carrie. Okay. Well, on that note, we've touched on so much stuff. We're coming up on an hour, believe it or not. So we're gonna jump into high five, and this is 5 random questions.
Okay.
Rapid fire. Do not think too long. You can pass, but don't pass. All right, you ready?
I'm ready. Hit me.
Don't look so excited. These are fine. You'll be fine.
Hit me.
1, iced tea or lemonade?
Iced tea.
Okay. I'm giving you a trip around the world. You leave tonight. Who's going with you?
Oh God. I don't know. My 16-year-old.
That's the right answer. That's what I hoped you would say.
No.
What's your favorite season?
Fall. Hands down.
Finish this sentence, and remember, no editing in this video. Never have I ever.
Oh God. Never have I ever. Oh Jesus. I don't know. Never have I ever robbed his bank. There you go.
All right, I hope we're all drinking on that one. And finally, what is your favorite band?
I don't know. I like music. I never really know like the names of it. I know Dan and Shay because I'm a country music fan. So, I mean, but I don't really, I like the songs. So I don't have like a band
That's fair.
Yeah.
Fun fact, the one band I will change the station for is Dan and Shay. Like, change it away from.
I know.
They're not gonna like that. Oh well. If Dan and Shay are watching, let's chat, maybe change my mind, but I highly doubt it. All right, cool.
The lobby before we leave here.
Say that again?
I'm gonna turn it on in the lobby when we leave here.
Oh, thank you for that. That's punishment. All right, so before we go, tell us, what is your next project? Why should people contact you? Do you want people to contact you? Like, are you looking for any help with anything at this point? Like, why should people connect with Carrie?
Well, I mean, obviously, if you're looking for an office, connect with me for sure. You know, if you're looking for a creative way to kind of expand your business. I think that my next project, as we've discussed, will probably be not only self-care, but also writing a book, starting to write it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna start to write that. And then what was the other one? I forgot.
Just are you looking for any help? Do you need anyone to, like, are you looking for anything? Who should connect with you and why? You've already kind of talked about that. If not, that's cool. We'll put all your links in the write-up so people can find you on LinkedIn if they want to talk more about this stuff. But yeah,
find me on LinkedIn for sure. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. So
awesome. Well, this has been great. I hope it wasn't as torturous as you expected. I think it flowed really well. I'm so excited that we did this because we've been talking about it seemingly forever.
Yeah.
Any kind of closing remarks, anything like one takeaway, it's this.
One takeaway, there's a quote that I now live by, which I learned during the pandemic, was nothing changes if nothing changes. And so, yes, so that is something that now I really just kind of try and strive to live my life by, and knowing that, like, again, full circle, going back to the whole fear of failure, that, you know, I need to remind myself that if I don't change, if things don't change, then they won't change. And, you know, you're just kind of in that whole vicious cycle.
Yeah, lots of circles, should be a song. It is a song. Love that though. Nothing changes if nothing changes. That's phenomenal. We should do another session like this and get 4 or 5 people on there, and that's the topic.
Right.
Carye, thank you so much for taking this time. This has been a great conversation. I hope you had as much fun as I did.
I did.
And yeah, everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you know anyone who wants to be on this podcast, this vlog, get them in touch with me. All my information is below, and I hope you enjoy it. Like it, share it, react, comment, whatever, just engage. Let's have conversations and let's think for ourselves. Thank you, and we will see you at the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Bye.